A lot of churches are faithfully creating content every single week, but very few are turning that content into a long term own media strategy that protects their mission, expands their reach, and builds something sustainable for the future. So today, I'm joined with Andreas Kisslinger, founder of Lightcast, to talk about how ministries can move from simply posting content to actually owning their audience, safeguarding their message, and taking their media to the next level.
Thanks for having me, Michael. I'm excited to be here.
So, Andreas, for kind of kicking off with my first question, for churches faithfully recording sermons every week and posting to YouTube and Facebook, what's the difference between having followers and actually owning the audience?
Well, whoever owns the property owns the audience. The website, the app, whoever owns it owns the audience. So on social media, the audience is owned by the social media platform, not by the publisher, not by the church for sure. On the church's website and apps, the church owns the audience. And the main difference is that if you do own the audience, you can engage, you can connect, you can collect email addresses, you can collect viewer contact information, subscriber, and other data to follow up and engage and turn followers into donors and supporters and even members. While that isn't possible on social media because you don't own the audience there. The platform does.
No, that definitely makes sense. And like when it comes to ministries building their entire outreach on social media right now, how would you explain the rental land problem?
On social media, you get to promote your message and your church, your brand to audiences on leased property. It's like renting an apartment versus owning a house. If you want to build it out, you want to invest into it, you want to renovate, you want to upgrade, if you put any dollars into it, you want to make sure you own it, right? Because why would you invest into someone else's property? So every piece of content you create is an investment. You are creating content and you're making that investment, but you're giving it away on rented space. So you are renting an apartment. However, if you put that investment into your own properties, the ones that you own, well, that's your own ROI and it builds equity on your books.
No, that's something I think not many ministries are aware of that should be, and thank you for pointing that out. We need that protection and that safeguarding with the content. You don't want to lose that. So why is viewership growth beyond Sunday services becoming mission critical for faith-based organizations today?
Ministries and churches are all about reaching people, but also engaging with them and serving people. And that shouldn't just happen on Sundays. I mean, we preach this from pulpits all the time, right? It's not about just the Sunday service. It's about the walk of everyday life. And that's exactly what your own streaming apps, your properties, your website, your streaming channels can do for you. It can allow you to remain engaged with your followers and your congregation throughout every single day of the week through short messages, through small group engagement, or promos, or just simply allowing the congregation to review the sermon from last Sunday. How often have we been sitting in a service and we've been super touched and moved by a sermon that we forgot on Monday? And how great would it be if we can just go to my church's channel and watch it on my favorite screen, whether that's in the media room or on the couch in the living room, on the best screen in the house, on the TV.
Yeah, I have to confess there's times where I had that thought of going to my church's YouTube channel to watch last Sunday's service, and I caught myself watching highlights of last night's game, so Lord forgive me on that, but that's a great point, Andreas. So, safety, control, and protection, those are important for ministries. So for pastors concerned about censorship, algorithm shifts, or even cancellation, how real is that risk in today's environment?
Cancellation and especially cutting of a live stream mid-service happens much more often than we would think. We have many, many clients who are churches and ministries, and they experience it all the time. But it very often doesn't have anything to do with the topic or a worldview or what has been said. Sometimes it's just simply the algorithm. The algorithm is looking for the highest top advertising dollar. And churches aren't always the type of content that sells the highest advertising dollars. And also it listens in for music and copyright and potential infringements. And it does it completely automatically. There isn't a mean person in a social network that's trying to click away churches. It's completely software automated. And we just need to be aware of that. So having your own properties, your own streaming apps, your own streaming channels allows you to protect yourself against an unwanted disruption of your live stream.
So I guess, touching on that as well, if a church wants to create a distraction-free, safe viewing environment for their congregation, no competing message, no suggested videos, no unwanted ads, what changes when that moves to their own app?
If churches are able to convert and move a few percent, let's say 10, 20% of their social media followers to their own streaming apps, to download, install their own church streaming apps on TVs, on mobile, on web, in cars, wherever congregations are, that allows churches to really control the ecosystem and allows them to engage with viewers and their congregations without any distractions. So there are many other great churches and ministries out there on social media. And of course, your viewers on your social media channels, they will see recommended videos and maybe unwanted ads and distractions. It doesn't necessarily have to be a sports game or any type of bad content for that matter. It could be just simply the next great shining church down the road that simply grabs your viewers' attention. But you want to keep their attention while they're tuned in with you. And the only way to really safely do that is on your website, your mobile apps, your TV apps, and your car apps.
No, my wheels are spinning right now thinking of all the ways that they can really protect their audience. But then if they were doing like a Sunday retreat or a men's retreat, women's retreat, you name it, they can create like a little commercial and insert that type of ad into their sermons instead of the ads that are in YouTube and Facebook.
Exactly. 100%. Promote your own products, your own services, your own events, rather than someone else's.
All right. So kind of taking an angle with ministries that are, creating their own songs, their own hymns, for ministries that use worship music or license content, how does owning your platform solve the copyright, music rights, and takedown challenges we see on social media?
It's absolutely correct to use and sing songs of others. There's no problem with that at all. It's just that social media platforms, their algorithms are programmed to listen for copyright sensitive material and then maybe to cut the live stream right in the middle of the event fully automatically. It's not because the social media platform really believes that you're doing something wrong. It's just simply the way the algorithm works. So while you can sing all of those same songs in your own streaming apps, on your website, your mobile apps, your TV apps, your car apps, any of your own properties, that's absolutely no problem. And that solves the issue.
Andreas, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what makes Lightcast stand out. How do we help our partners, the ministries we work with, set themselves apart?
The Lightcast Media Cloud is a media automation and distribution platform. It allows our publishers to upload, manage all of their media content, live events, linear streams, on-demand audio, video libraries, with all the associated metadata, gallery images, much of it even automated through AI, optionally if they want to, different language versions, and then to automate distribution to all screens and devices. And fully plugged into the Media Cloud is an app framework, full stack with turnkey, custom brandable app templates for every device and every screen. So that allows every church, every ministry within hours to be up and running on all major app stores and devices. This is critical in our days to build audiences, grow audiences, but also increase engagement and discoverability through AI searches as well. So what this means for ministries is they can launch turnkey apps on all major app stores for every screen and device, including Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android TV, Google TV, Samsung, LG, Vizio, and beyond, but also iOS and Android mobile, as well as web apps and car apps for self-driving vehicles to capture viewers and engagement across every screen.
So, Andreas, for churches wondering, is this more than a streaming on Sunday service solution? It's simply said, what are practical ways ministries can use their own streaming platform throughout the week?
It is becoming a church Netflix of your own brand for your own church, with all your media, all your archives, libraries, live events, linear streams, everything in one place across every screen and app store. And it's as easy as streaming live through the Lightcast Media Cloud. It's being recorded automatically. It's being turned into an on-demand asset. You can clip it, you can trim it, you can add keywords and metadata. You can allow the AI Media Cloud do that for you, and then auto-publish to all your screens, your website, your online streaming campus, your mobile apps and TV apps everywhere. And it's about engaging your congregation throughout the week, every single day, to review the service from last Sunday, maybe to update them, encourage them throughout the week, and have special messages for young, old, for different groups within your church and congregation, or messages to volunteers for volunteer engagement, getting them ready for the weekend services. And there is so much a church can do with their streaming apps.
Yeah, and I think this is a really good question regarding what we recently rolled out last year for missionaries around the world trying to reach beyond their home country. How does multi-language translation change that possibility?
Missionaries often have to travel far to itinerate and raise funds and remain connected to their supporting churches back home. And using their streaming apps and uploading and sharing content from the mission field on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis is a phenomenal way to stay in touch with your supporter base, donor base, with supporting churches. And it allows congregations to stay in touch with the missionary families abroad as well, and see what they do and how it's working, and just simply stay up to date on a daily basis with them on their favorite screens, mobile, TV apps, etc. And also at the same time, it gives missionaries the tool to use all of the teaching, all of the ministry content from their supporting churches and partner churches, and use that in the mission field, in the target language of the country they're serving, because the AI Media Cloud automatically translates everything into their target languages.
So how can small groups benefit from a church having its own streaming app?
Every church can have special designated channels for small group leaders that they can use to run a pre-roll video to open up a small group discussion throughout the week in every home that's participating. So pastors, leaders can upload short videos, introductory videos, or even just clips from the past Sunday sermon that then can be pre-rolled on the TVs in the living rooms at home for every small group. Small groups usually happen in living rooms that have a TV on the wall. So that's exactly where the church needs to have an app in order to do that.
Andreas, is there an example of a current ministry that we work with that expanded their reach by opening up other languages that they weren't able to before?
Many of our ministry clients were first movers and early adopters in the connected TV and streaming television and streaming app space, launching their apps very early on in 2011, 12, 13. I remember, for instance, In Touch Ministries out of Atlanta, Georgia. They started early on with around 2013 with their own InTouch streaming apps through Lightcast. And it started out with just a few thousand viewers, but then it grew by, I remember the first year, over 1,000% in viewership growth just in year one, and then kept growing, especially the global reach. It was fascinating to see how it started in the US, but then just a year later, there were over 70 countries reached, and then over 100 countries reached, and viewership kept growing, especially with the multi-language support over time.
Yep. So, Andreas, for Homebound members, traveling families, how does having your own TV app change the experience compared to watching on social media?
Well, many viewers don't really like to try to search and find their church on social media. Many of our elderly in our congregations, they just prefer watching plain television. And so having a Roku, a Fire TV app as a church gives them the ability just with a very simple click on their remote control, up, down, right, left, find the church, have it installed on their screen of their TV. Every time they turn on the TV, the church is right there. And it's one single click and they can watch and stay tuned in. And it's such a wonderful service for those that just can't make it to the church building, even if they wanted to. They just, either they're traveling for business or they are sick, maybe in a hospital, maybe homebound, and just cannot make it physically to the building. And what a beautiful opportunity for them to tune in on their television, big screen, just what they're used to. And instead of watching just some series, now they can watch the church and be connected.
So, touching on monetization and sustainability, I know that ministries kind of stay away. They're not a business, but it is God's business. That's what Billy Graham, I believe, said. So beyond donations alone, what additional revenue streams like subscriptions, fundraising, tools like that for even like live events become possible when a ministry owns its platform?
I love it when churches think outside the box and diversify their revenue streams, because in the end, the bills have to be paid, right? Every ministry needs to cover their budget and also grow and expand, and costs increase all the time. So the question is just, do you want to just increase the burden and expectation on your existing donors and congregation? Or would you add some additional supplemental income streams and revenue streams to grow and to cover the additional expenses? And that's a beautiful opportunity right there with your own streaming apps, whether it's advertising, sponsors. You may have businesses even in your congregation that would want to become sponsors and advertisers on your church's TV app. And everyone would understand that. There is nothing wrong in doing that. Or promoting your own products, your books, your music, your events. And that can drive revenue, as well as pay-per-view and subscriptions. We have churches that have started to make their entire legacy library from 50 years of capturing media available behind a simple subscription wall. And it allows subscribers that may be part of the congregation, but also may completely be foreign to the church or far, far away, to subscribe just to watch and have access to everything.
Why is recurring subscription or membership support often more stable than relying on ad revenue or unpredictable platform payouts?
Ad revenue is really a volume game. You need typically 1 million or more consistent views every single month to even get good, decent ad contracts that pay the right CPMs and rates and fill rates. So it's much, much easier as you start out, as you start growing audiences, to do that with either subscriptions or live pay-per-view ticket sales, or bringing on sponsors that pay you directly, let's say a flat rate fee per month, per quarter, per year, to be pre-mid post-roll on all your content with their ads. That's much better than relying on regular, standard, traditional programmatic ad revenue.
Yeah, and I'm thinking for churches, a lot of their thought on this is we're not trying to monetize with our content. How would you explain the difference between monetizing for profit and monetizing for mission stability?
It's clear that freely we've been given and freely we give away. So yes, we should make the message available for free, but this doesn't mean that we couldn't sell books or music or ask for support. Because really that's what ministry is all about. It's a giving in both directions. The ministry gives to the people, to the audiences, and the audiences give back. And there are many ways of doing that. Donations, of course, is the traditional way, but it goes far beyond that. There are other opportunities you can make available to viewers to give back to your ministry, give back to your church. And I think we need to think outside of the box and just utilize different opportunities that are available.
Andreas, thinking outside the box like that needs to happen more often. That was really great on how you put that. So, kind of going on to like simplicity, automations, and long-term growth. Like, how many churches assume they need an engineer or a big tech team to run a streaming platform? What would you say to a ministry with just one media volunteer?
It is true that in the past, it was necessary to employ a whole team in order to get things done in the area of media for any church. And it's still necessary, of course, to have a production department to produce the content. But when it comes to upload, content management, distribution, much of that can be automated so that your team can go back to focus on creating more content and be creative. That's exactly what your church needs your people for, is to be creative. You are the source of the creativity and the message. However, the redundant, repetitive, mundane tasks of upload and management and distribution, all of that can be done by software. So let the Lightcast Media Cloud software do what software can do. And so you can focus on what humans should do.
Yeah, I think freeing up that time where you're not consistently jumping into all the weeds of managing your content, where now you can reach out to a new member and speak with them, that goes a long way for churches. And kind of touching on that, if a church could upload one sermon and let the software handle the transcoding, the subtitles, translations, thumbnails, and published everywhere, how does that change their capacity for growth?
It changes everything, because our churches that use Lightcast, they simply stream live or upload a sermon. It's recorded, it's distributed, it's turned into a podcast automatically by the software. It's distributed to all podcast platforms of the church automatically, to all of the websites, web apps, TV apps, mobile apps, and car apps of the church everywhere in a single workflow. Completely automated. Then it's transcribed, there is a summary, there's metadata created automatically by the Media Cloud, all the titles, descriptions, keywords, gallery images, and then language versions, a closed caption file, automatic translations into 35 languages, the watermark of the church is rendered onto it. Everything is done automatically by the software. So all you have to do is stream the service or upload a file. Everything else is done by the software fully automatically.
No, that makes a lot of sense to me, and that freed up time allows people to grow. And thinking with like an eternal mindset for pastors or speakers who have decades of sermons recorded, what does platform ownership mean for preserving their library and stewarding it with the next generation?
Legacy preservation is critical for the founders of churches, for TV personalities that have been on screen, on TV, on radio for decades, and want to preserve their legacy and their message and their brand for generations to come. And there is only one way of doing that, and that is through your own custom branded ministry and apps for your church on TV, mobile, web, and car apps that preserve your legacy and all your content from decades and for generations to come. So even on social networks and social media, it may eventually vanish or be replaced or be drowned out. but on your streaming apps, it will always be there for decades to come. Maybe until Jesus returns. Who knows?
Andreas, that's a great point. And I think of a scripture, for all flesh is like grass and all its glory like the flower. Grass fades, the flower falls, but the word of the Lord echoes for eternity. And we want your messages to echo for eternity until Jesus comes, like you were just saying. Andreas, this was an absolute pleasure, very insightful. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you. It was a pleasure. And if anyone wants to get a demo of Lightcast and the Media Cloud and all the automation tools, well, just simply go to lightcast.com and book a demo. Click on the button up on the right side and book a demo.